I think the pandemic has had a pretty significant impact on M&A during this time period. And I think there's a couple things that happened. Number one, I think companies that may have been ready to sell probably had to buckle down and try to figure out what did 2020 mean to them. Because an M&A process takes us several months usually to kind of go from start to finish. When the pandemic hit, I think a lot of companies had to look inside and figure out what are we going to do internally before we even think about selling. So I think that created a little bit of a blip. I also think that just getting a deal done was hard because everything was virtual. And so I think a lot of sellers probably pulled back to try to figure out what was going to happen in 2020. Going forward, though, hoping that there's a vaccine that comes out, hoping that the U.S. opens up a little bit more and we get back to reality and a little bit of what it used to be like, I think that pent-up demand is going to kind of flow through, and we're going to see a lot of that activity because I think a lot of sellers out there are really thinking about how hard it is to manage through these types of situations, and maybe depending on where they are in their careers or where they are from a maturity perspective, we may see more sellers in the market over the next couple months and years. NFI's M&A strategy is pretty simple, and it's actually been the strategy for a number of years, led by our CEO, Sid Brown, and it's kind of his words and his kind of motto as to how he's always looked at M&A. And it really is kind of twofold. Number one is we look for acquisitions where the target company possibly has a service offering that we don't provide. And the idea is that we then take that service offering and we are able to sell that into our existing customer base. And as many people know, NFI is a full service organization that offers a suite of services. A great example would be our Cal Cartage acquisition. We purchased an unbelievable company that had a port presence and an expertise that we didn't have. And so we're able to go and add another service offering to the suite in the port drayage and the transloading aspect, and get some great talent along with it. The other way, the second thing is looking at a target company and figuring out who they do business with, who are their customers. We look at kind of industry diversification, customer verticals, where we'll look and say, do we do business with some of these large or well-known brands? And we'll go after that and then try to kind of fill out our industry vertical pie chart. And that helps really with our overall diversification strategy. I think NFI has always tried to be a diversified company so that we don't have just one service we rely on. We have multiple services, whether it's warehousing, port services, our dedicated transportation fleet, or our non-asset. And same thing on the customer side. We feel that by adding more customers and having some more diversification, it helps with our stability. If we get some geographic diversity along the way, that's even better. And we've been very North American focused because we think there's a ton of market share there still to be had. At the end of the day, though, even though you may have one of those things, the most important thing I would say when we look at an acquisition is cultural fit. That just means, is the mindset of that company aligned with the mindset of your company, the intangibles, the fabric of the company, the culture, which is sometimes really hard to figure out in diligence, but we spend a lot of time because I would say the majority of acquisitions that have failed, there just hasn't been possibly cultural alignment. And so we spend a ton of time on that because at NFI, we care about retaining the people. So those are just some things that we look at as a company, and we'll continue to do the same thing going forward. So I wish I could tell you it's super sophisticated, but we like to keep it simple at NFI. We do fairly well with companies that may be founder or family owned. They may not have a succession plan, but they want to do right by their employees and their customers. I think they look at NFI as a potential solid buyer because we're in it for the long game. I mean, we've been around for 80 plus years. We don't sell. We don't have a 5-year timeline where we have to buy something and go sell it. And we look at things kind of in multi-year terms. We don't look at things kind of quarter to quarter. And so I think for that, there are certain buyers that really care about that. And I think that is one way that people can think about NFI in terms of of what we do. I think that as we look and when we integrate companies, we probably do it a little bit slower than other companies. But our view there is that we need to try to take the best of both worlds, and we also need to make sure we retain the employee base. Everybody has trucks, everybody has real estate and warehouses, everybody has a WMS, but at the end of the day, the people are kind of what makes the acquisition work. So I think those are the things that a lot of sellers may be looking for in a buyer. And I think that's where NFI can succeed. I mean, we're a family-owned business. We pride ourselves on being probably one of the largest, if not the largest, family-owned 3PL out there. Although we're big, we still try to treat our people and our customers, the way we always have in the past. Over the past couple of years, NFI has been pretty active in the M&A market. As a strategic buyer, we do a couple a year, and that's kind of what we think is probably right for a company of our size. In a lot of cases, on the companies that we are acquiring, for the most part, the companies we're acquiring, they always are a little bit smaller than us. And I think we offer probably a larger national platform for them. I think we're able to kind of go into that customer and say, hey, I know we're doing X here. I think we could probably provide this service in 2 or 3 more locations. Would you be interested? And usually the answer is yes. In other cases too, with the company that we acquire, we're able to provide another service offering to them. So they may say, we're doing some dedicated fleets for them. Well, we might actually be able to do some warehousing for them. And we have some synergies where maybe we're doing both out of the same facility. And so I think those are some things that we can really offer to some customers that they may not have had. I do see large shippers kind of consolidating the number of 3PLs that they're working with. But I think that what we're able to provide is that scale for them to be able to grow, and which is I think a good thing. With the customers on our NFI side, I think that what we're able to do there too is if we have a competency or something on the company that we just brought in, we're able to kind of transfer that knowledge or those solutions over to the NFI side. And there's been some examples where, from an acquisition standpoint, I think we're able to take certain service offerings that from the acquisition company and take that and go and sell that into the NFI portfolio or some of our contacts. And I think we're able to do that, with G&P. That acquisition we did in December of 2019. I think we're able to do a lot more in the Southeast now for our customers. And with CAI, I think with some of the global and the intermodal and the brokerage offerings that they provide, I think we have a whole new type of service offering, and we've been able to take that to another level that's pretty exciting for our customer base. NFI is continuing to look at different areas to invest in and to acquire. I think, but for the most part, though, our 4 pillars, our distribution and warehousing and fulfillment arm, our dedicated transportation, non-asset and port services, we feel strongly about every one of those. And I think that we're going to continue to look for acquisitions in all 4 of those buckets. Depending on those buckets, there may be some size requirements in terms of the size of the company, but I think we're going to continue to look at all 4 of those, and we'll continue to invest in those areas. One thing I'd like to call out, though, is I think, the one thing that we get super excited about are companies in the warehousing business. One of the things that we offer that maybe some other 3PLs don't offer is our real estate competency. And a lot of the warehousing deals out there have a real estate competency, or they own real estate. And we are buyers of real estate, buyers of industrial real estate. We're developers of industrial real estate. So sometimes we get even more excited about some of the warehousing deals because it helps 2 different areas of NFI, not only our warehousing and fulfillment competency, but it also helps our real estate competency. I'm excited about a lot of things in 2021. The first thing is getting the vaccine out there and life getting back to whatever we think is normal. I am optimistic about the future of logistics. It's crazy when I think back, when I was in college, they didn't even have supply chain majors. Now there's a whole logistics section in the Wall Street Journal. This industry is booming. And whether you call it because of the Amazon effect or people now realizing how hard it is to get products to your door in 2 days, there is just this excitement, I think, around supply chain and logistics. There's a technology component to it. It's sophisticated. I think it's super interesting, especially when we think about the other industries out there across the U.S. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. And we're hoping that we get to see a couple more deals out there, some good deals, and develop some relationships along the way. And when the timing's right, hopefully we'll be there and we'll provide a great place for some companies to land.